This is News 8 This Morning.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks so much for being here. Eric, Connor, and Stella Scapito with you here on this Thursday. It may not be Friday, but I still think we should do our dance party. We should do that every morning.
I was just going to tell our viewers that every day that you come in here, that's what you look like. You're like dancing.
Yeah, well,
you're so excited to be here.
I'm telling you, you got to get that energy up, right? That's one way to wake up. You don't always need that huge cup of coffee.
Right. Wake up, wake up. Good morning to you on this Thursday. Let's go ahead and get right into our headlines right now.
We have some good news to report here this morning. County health officials saying the percentage of positive coronavirus tests has fallen for a week straight. There are 117 new confirmed cases reported, bringing the total number of cases to 5,278. There were also 5 new deaths to report. The county death toll is at 194, but it's worth noting here that 3,238 people have recovered locally. So some good news there, Stella.
And following a challenging few months, the state of California is expected to face a budget shortfall in the billions. But as News 8's Netta Rampur explains, wildfire prevention is still getting a lot of attention as well as funding. Good morning, Netta.
Yeah, good morning. So the governor is expected to lay out his revised budget during his update today at noon. And yeah, he'll be talking about $54 billion in a budget shortfall. So incredible number there. But he's also talking about putting in millions towards wildfire prevention.
By July of this year, we will have an additional 26 new engines all throughout the state of California, including 4 incident command units.
So California remains focused on combating the threat of COVID-19, but also combating the increasing threat of wildfires. In fact, so far this year, the governor points out there have been 1,135 wildfires throughout the state of California, and that's a 60% increase compared to last year. So the governor's revised budget, which he will unveil today, will include an additional $127 million for the Office of Emergency Services, $50 million to help counties affected by power shutoffs carried out to prevent wildfires, and an extra $85.7 million for the state's Department of Forestry and Fire Protection. And part of the wildfire preparedness during this coronavirus pandemic also means changing the way we would evacuate. That would mean separating evacuations for COVID-19 patients and those who don't have the virus, and also asking residents to evacuate earlier than they would have in the past if a fire is approaching or they may have to go to a farther location. The Sacramento Bee is reporting that so far furloughs have not been discussed when it comes to this budget. The state departments have been directed to avoid unnecessary travel and contracts and use discretion in hiring, also canceling leave buyback programs. But the governor's also said this week the state is better positioned financially than it was during the last recession to cope with the budget because former Governor Jerry Brown left him a substantial reserve. Now, after he reveals the budget later today, the legislature has until June 15th to balance the spending plan before the budget goes into effect on July 1st. And unlike the federal government, the state is required to balance its budget each year. It cannot file for bankruptcy. So, of course, we will air that update from the governor at noon today on our sister station, the CW. We are live along the Embarcadero. Back to you in studio.
Netta, thank you. The budget plan is expected to reflect just how widespread the impact of the coronavirus is. So let's take a closer look at the latest numbers here worldwide as well as here in the U.S. Worldwide, there are more than 4.3 million cases. Here in the U.S., there are more than 1.4 million cases, so that's about a third globally. More than 84,000 people now have died in our country. But the good news here, more than 244,000 people have recovered, so nearly 250,000 recoveries. We now have the newest jobless claims numbers nationwide. Today's report shows an estimated 2.9 million people have filed for unemployment in the last week. It brings the 8-week total to 36 million over those 8 consecutive weeks. But Stella, some positive news there. That's the lowest week we have seen since this began in the past 8 weeks. So a little glass half full approach there.
Yeah, we'll check in on the market to see how it's looking today in about 25 minutes. Nationwide, businesses are struggling to keep afloat. A couple of local casinos are betting that they can safely reopen by next week, but county health officials are warning the stakes may be way too high. News 8's Chris Groh is live in Kearney Mesa this morning to break down this dispute. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning, and you got to imagine this is going to be an ongoing dispute because county health officials do not want this to happen. They are warning that the risk is too much right now to try to do this, and they may even try to work with the CDC or look at other means to try to prevent this from happening.
If they do open and ignore our request not to open, then we would definitely have to ensure that they put stringent practices in place to help protect the public's health.
Now, as a reminder, the county doesn't have jurisdiction over these casinos that are located on tribal land. So far, we know that Sequan, Valley View, and Viejas Casino and Resort and others are planning to reopen next week. As many casino visitors know, though, the floors and tables can get packed several hours at a time. So the county health department is worried that large crowds could lead to unnecessary death and infections during the fight against COVID-19. But casino executives are fighting back. They claim they are more than ready with new sanitation procedures and gaming protocols. Sequan Casino and Resort released video earlier this week showing employees spraying down machines and tables, and we're told that those new gaming measures include turning off every other slot machine, limiting the amount of players at table games, and requiring masks and temperature checks.
We obviously need to do it safely. Obviously, there's always a risk. I mean, that's I think the world that we live in right now. But we're doing everything we can to minimize that risk.
And in a statement, Sequan Resort and Casino also said that they would be incorporating state and federal guidelines when it comes to health and safety and industry best practices for now. Back to you.
Chris Groh, thanks for that. New details expected soon about the mysterious illness we've been seeing in children believed to be tied to coronavirus. CBS News has learned the CDC is preparing to issue an alert to doctors nationwide about the illness. Right now, there are more than 180 cases. 3 children have died in 17 states and Washington, D.C., but experts believe there may be more cases not diagnosed. Doctors say most cases of this rare inflammatory syndrome, which is similar to Kawasaki disease, is treatable.
Time now for the morning rush. Today, a new drive-through coronavirus testing site will open, this time in the East County. It will be located at the parking lot of the mall in Borrego Springs. Testing hours are from 7 in the morning until 11 a.m. Results will be available within a week of testing. If you're not able to make it today, the drive-through site will be there through Saturday. As the number of coronavirus cases in the South Bay continues to climb, we're learning more about the mayor of National City's push for increased testing. Yesterday, the mayor announced a partnership with the county to increase testing, tracking, treatment in that region as well. Priority testing will be given to hospital workers and those with symptoms. The mayor says they are working to make tests available to anyone who wants one. And as more businesses prepare to open, a North County community is split over who is included in the closures. Dozens of people rallied outside of Metroflex Gym in Oceanside just yesterday.
This is a time for us to be courage in the face of fear, for us to open our business and not be afraid.
The owner was cited over the weekend for refusing to close his gym just one day after an Oceanside City Council member urged businesses to reopen. Oceanside's mayor tells News 8 while he would love for that to happen, he doesn't have the authority to tell people to violate the stay-at-home order and urges everyone to follow the county and state public health orders. Protesters from Doctors for Camp Closure are taking part in a 24-hour protest calling for the release of asylum seekers. They say unsafe and unsanitary conditions could lead to an increase in COVID-19 cases as well as deaths. So far, more than 800 ICE detainees have tested positive for the virus across the U.S. One detainee died last week at the Otay Mesa Detention Center. And that's the Morning Rush.
A special homecoming for a teen who was shot and left for dead during a robbery in Coronado. Jacob McHenry spent 8 days in the hospital after he was shot in the back. He had been trying to sell a necklace on the app OfferUp to help save money for a car. But the guy he met up with swiped the necklace, and Jacob got shot after chasing after him. Now Jacob is getting a warm welcome home.
Thank you guys all for coming out today. Saying that I appreciate it immensely would be an understatement.
The person who shot him has not been caught. Doctors say it will take 4 to 6 weeks for Jacob to physically recover. Glad to see he's up and walking around. Know a lot of people there to support him.